of a letter of suicide intent. I was 6 years old and severely depressed. I pinched myself for being a bad person. I tried to hurt myself to the point of tears. I labored over how I would write my suicide note. It was the first time I wrote anything that wasn't assigned to me in school. It wasn't about what I did last summer. It wasn't about Dick and Jane. And it was my first piece of literature, nonfiction. The nonfiction genre has always been a hot sell. But when I was 6 years old and writing only for myself and those who needed to know about my suicide thoughts, I was too young to know that I could pitch this story to a magazine. When the lights went out at night, I didn't fall asleep. I stared at the ceiling. My thoughts raced through my head. I needed a pen and paper. All writers need pen and paper. After weeks of trying to figure out the words, putting them together so what could be a final documentation of my literary career, I finally dared to put it on paper. I wrote, "I want to kill myself." I put the note behind the sofa for my parents to find. I knew my target audience and I wanted to pull out their heartstrings. I wanted to be understood. My platform was solid since my demographic of readers had given birth to me and had changed my diapers when I was a baby and drove me to school every morning. But there was something that gave me hope in life. Something holding me back from pinching myself into the eternal ether. Girls. When Mom and Dad had married couples come over to their house, they laughed and they seemed to be so happy. They left our front door into the vast outside world, holding hands and laughing. I knew finding a girl and leaving my family would break me out of my depressive funk. I needed a girlfriend. I needed a wife. In my first grade class, I was the kid who peed his pants. I didn't know that I could ask the teacher to go to the bathroom. So when the urge pressed through my bladder until my urine was about to blow back into my kidneys, I just let it go. The rest of the day, I smelled like pee. There was a girl who wore the same clothes every day. Her name was Shelley. She didn't mind when my pants were wet and I smelled like urine. She was my girlfriend. Though looking back, I realized she probably didn't know we were going steady. We played on the monkey bars and we swung the tetherball back and forth. One day, Mom smelled urine and asked me why I peed my pants. The other question was why I didn't wear underwear, but that's a story for another time. I told her that if I couldn't hold it until recess, I told her I couldn't hold it until recess, so she explained that I could go to the bathroom during class if I asked my teacher. I never smelled like pee again. And I was able to play with other girls at school who wouldn't have played with me before. One was Pamela. We sat behind the bleachers to hide from all the other kids and the teachers. We'd sit together and watch the activities of everyone else. We observed. She had been doing this on her own until I came along and didn't smell like pee anymore. I finally got the courage to ask her the question, "Will you marry me?" Without taking her eyes off the kickball game the rest of the class was playing across the way, she said yes. I was engaged. She was tan and had dirty blonde hair. She was my 6-year-old Farrah Fawcett. I wasn't sure how to proceed, but I knew my future was looking better. We never officially called off our engagement. Pamela moved to a different school. Then my friend Vince came over, and we wrestled to see who was the strongest. We decided we were both the same strength, and we played checkers. We sat on the living room floor, and he took three of my black pieces. When it was my move, he found the piece of paper underneath the sofa. To my horror, he opened it up and read it. "I want to kill myself." "What's this?" he asked. Thinking quickly, I said it was something my mom wrote, and then I grabbed it out of his hands and put it in my pocket. I was a writer. I could write. I just wasn't ready to take credit or criticism yet, or for my friends to know that I had suicidal thoughts. The more girls I fell in love with, the less suicidal my suicidal intention became. My suicide note turned into love letters, poetry to Michelle about her beautiful smile. Her return letters were scented with perfume and words about lusting over my big blue eyes. When I turned 16, I finally kissed a girl for real, and she kissed back. An older friend advised me to roll my tongue along her teeth when we kissed. I didn't know he meant the back of her teeth. Rebecca probably felt like she was getting an invasive erotic dental exam. The kisses worked for a while, giving me hope, putting suicide on hold by burying my tongue past someone else's soft lips. When I found out Rebecca was kissing other guys, my anger spewed inside me. I was in a strict religion, so anything more than kissing was out of the question. Kissing stopped working, and the dread returned. Life was like a delicate pair of hands, slowly choking me, becoming stronger and growing bigger. The hands started to develop calluses, and the choke felt strangely comforting. I could die and be done with it all. But hope has a way of creeping up on you, and the hands loosened their grips when I found literature. Books by writers who seemed as depressed and angry as I was. Honest books about longing, anguish, and desperation for something more. I would kiss those books from beginning to end. Then I'd put pen to paper and scribble my thoughts, thinking I was just as good of a writer as they were, and one day I would be a great writer. When I was a few years older, I left my parents' house and moved into my car. Literature held my hand as we walked out the front door to a life of uncharted realms. I still plan on killing myself. The memoir I wrote at 6 years old was factually correct. I'm going to kill myself when I'm 93 years old. I'm going to catapult myself into the eternal nothingness. Or if there's a God, I'm going to give him a sucker punch. Whatever happens, I'm going out like a literary rock star. Like Hunter, like Hemingway, like David Foster Wallace. My obit will begin one of three ways. Washed-up writer Tony DuShane died yesterday, a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. DuShane had a successful debut novel, then completely lost his mind, but was able to semi-function as a human being because of the proceeds from the film adaptation of America's novelist Tony DuShane died yesterday of autoerotic self-asphyxiation. Despite the utter failure of his debut novel, he kept pushing the limits of the written word and found his voice with his 9th book. Was that an
Yeah.
That wasn't good?
That was good.
Okay.
That was an
Okay. The last obituary. Oldest dishwasher at Hooters, Tony DuShane, died yesterday of a drug overdose. DuShane claimed he had a novel published earlier this century. It was during a time when people had the patience to experience the labor-intensive, tedious, and time-wasting entertainment thought to be intellectual back in 2010.